Please take your seats. We are about to start the spring quarter celebration for the new members of the U Davis Emeriti. Thank you, everyone, for attending this celebration for the new members of the U Davis Emeriti in person and remotely. We shall start with the land acknowledgement.
We should take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. For thousands of years, this land has been the home of Patwin people. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Patwin tribes. Kashildahi Band of Wintun Indians of the Calusa Indian Community. Quetzal D. Wintun Nation. And Yocha D. Wintun Nation. The Patwin people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected, as elders have instructed the young through generations. We are honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands.
Thank you. Let me introduce 10 students who are taking a special study section with me this quarter. And the goal of this class is to get these students involved in university affairs, including participation in today's celebration. Please hold your applause for the end of this brief introduction. I'll start with Bianca Vargas.
Hello, my name is Bianca Vargas, and I am a junior in biochemistry and molecular biology. My long-term goal is to pursue a career as a CVP agricultural specialist.
Dev Patel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dev, and I'm a second-year undergraduate student majoring in NPB. My future career goals are to attend medical school and become a physician.
Hi. Hi, my name is Emma Liu. I'm a biophysics graduate student in Dr. Justin Siegel's lab. I'm interested in understanding how enzymes work, and my ultimate goal is to combine that knowledge with computational tools to rationally engineer enzymes to address today's challenges.
If you are a graduate student, you get 2 clicks. Katie Vartanian.
Hi, my name is Katie Vartanian. I'm a third-year NPB student, and my long-term goals would be to go to medical school.
Ishan Gupta.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ishan Gupta, and I'm a second-year undergraduate student in neurobiology, physiology, and behavior, and my long-term goal is to attend medical school.
Lisa Gu.
Hi, my name is Lisa, and I am a junior in biological sciences. My long-term goal is to apply to dental school.
Manu Moganti.
Hi, everyone. My name is Manu Moganti, and I am a third-year biological sciences student here at Davis. My future goals are to pursue PA school and one day become a PA.
Ross Charbonneau.
Hi, my name is Ross Charbonneau. I'm a junior studying biochemistry and molecular biology. My long-term goals are to either join industry after I graduate or perhaps pursue a PhD, but I'm not really sure yet.
Sabjot Singh.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sabjot Singh, and I'm a third-year transfer student here at UC Davis. I transferred over from De Anza Community College while majoring in biological sciences, and now I'm here at UC Davis at the campus, just taking advantage of all the opportunities I have and overall just enjoying life. In the future, I hope to apply to medical school and then become a family medicine physician, and at that point, open my own practice. And I hope that seemingly long-term goal turns into a short-term goal because I'm applying this year. So everyone, please wish me luck. Thank you so much.
And Tiffany Ng.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Ng, and I'm a third-year neurobiology, physiology, and behavior major. And in the future, I plan on going to optometry school.
Let's welcome all students today. They are easy to recognize because they are wearing this wonderful UC Davis polo, courtesy of Chancellor Gary May. And also the name tags is written in red, And also you might suspect from the biochemical viewpoint, the freshness of the skin collagen is quite different from ours. Now I would like to introduce Joanne Burkman. Joanne, please come to the podium. She's going to talk to the new members of the Emerita. Joanne is past president of the UC Davis Emeriti Association and the current chair of the system-wide association, the Council of the University of California Emeriti Associations. As you may know, the UC Davis Association president, MRC Greenwood, had to step down, resign for family reasons. And the vice president of the association, Suadi Joseph, who was here for the first select of the series, she's traveling today, but Suadi was kind enough to make arrangement with Joanne, and Joanne was kind enough to make the time to come to here and to say a few words to new members of the Emerita. Joanne, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very Thank you very much for the nice introduction and welcome. And I'd like to welcome you all to, on Suad's behalf, to join the Emeriti Association at UC Davis if you haven't already. It's a bargain at $25 a year or $200 for a lifetime membership. And we have a number of programs and activities that we sponsor. The main one, and I've left some flyers on some of the tables, is for our video records project, where we interview Emeriti, or invite you to invite a friend, a colleague to interview you. How many of you have already been interviewed for this program? Okay. It's fun. Thank you, Mo. That's what everybody says. So please, we have over 500, and Alan Jackman, I promised him I would promote this program. He is our chair of that committee, and his team is ready to talk to you about an interview. And if you want to do one, they take about an hour, and they are posted on the UC Davis academic YouTube channel. And I can tell you from talking to people that alumni are interested in this, and that parents who used to go to, I guess they're alums, Davis, have asked about faculty members, and I have had the pleasure of suggesting that they might want to go visit one of those videos to see what their faculty member that they remember has been doing, both in retirement and as their broader careers at UC Davis and beyond. So that's all I want to say, is to welcome and hope you will consider UC Davis Emeriti Association as something that you might like to be interested in participating in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joanne. I promised that the 3 celebrations for the new members of the UC Davis Emeriti, something new that we launched this year, would be different, each one of them. And in this last celebration of this year, I would like to pay tribute to one of the most distinguished members of the UC Davis Emeriti family, an exemplary faculty who dedicated more than 5 decades of service to UC Davis. She comes to work every day, including Saturday and Sunday after retirement. For some reason, she was not in her office today. I don't know if she's going to be here or she's already here, or if you are going to do this in absentia. My dear friends and colleagues, please allow me the opportunity to pay tribute to distinguished Professor Emerita Page is coming. Barbara Horwitz. I want to start with a brief overview of Barbara's academic life and the image that I retrieved from the Office of Strategic Communication Records with the wonderful collaboration of the staff in the special collection of the UC Davis Library. I'm sharing these images with the proper permission. Barbara went to the University of Florida for her studies, for undergraduate studies, and the part of her graduate education. She earned a PhD in physiology from Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. Barbara came into Davis, not because she wants to come to Davis, but because her professor got a position. He was in UCLA, and then he got a position to be chair of a department here in the vet school. And he moved, and Barbara came together, and she did not have plans to stay as well.
So I knew I wanted to finish the postdoc because we had started some projects. That were important, and I had the facilities, and I was able to do it, and I knew I needed to have some publications in order to be, able to get a position someplace else. So I had already decided I was going to stay 2 or 3 years. But then John came. That destroyed my, that changed my plans.
Barbara became secured a position as an assistant professor in the Department of Physiology, and became tenure-track faculty member in 1972. In 1975, she got the tenure and became an associate professor in physiology. And in 1978, she became a full professor. At the time that Celeste turned right, the first woman to earn a tenure at UC Davis was about to retire. Barbara became a distinguished professor in 2002 and retired in the school year of 2017 and 2018. She's not a new member of the Emerita, and she did that after 51 years of service to UC Davis. It's amazing. She met here a long-term collaborator, Barbara Horwitz, and let John fill in the details. John.
The way it worked out is I came to Davis in 1968. She actually came to the first seminar I gave.
And stayed awake.
And stayed awake, but told me it was incomprehensible, which is actually probably fairly accurate. Barbara was working with Robert Emery Smith, who was from UCLA, and they had pulled him up to Davis to be chair of one of the departments in the vet school. So when I gave my incomprehensible seminar, Barbara said, aha.
I went to his seminar, and I was just interested in who was this John Horwitz, So I went and I heard him. He came up from Berkeley, and he talked about the hippocampus and the work that he had done there. And I said, okay, great, okay, fine. And
he told us that you said it was an incomprehensible
to me
symposium.
Yes. I did tell him that I didn't quite understand everything that he said, but he was talking to people who were more neurally oriented than I was, and so But they hired him. I mean, they must have thought he was good, right? So he was hired as an assistant professor into animal physiology, which was then in the College of Agriculture.
Okay.
And I was in the vet school.
We devised an apparatus where we could stimulate the nerves, accurately record the temperature, keep the tissue alive, keep the blood flow absolutely intact. It was a very clever device, a clamping arrangement. And we showed you stimulate the nerves, the temperature does increase. We showed that if you norepinephrine was evolved, cyclic AMP, et cetera, and essentially resolved the issue.
And actually, the paper that we got out of it was published in the Proceeding of the National Academy. It was great. It was a great collaboration. And then, things happened, and we got married, and so then I was here at Davis, right? I was very fortunate in getting a faculty position because it so happened, this was about the second year that John was there, so I don't remember the exact year, but it so happened that they were looking for a cell biologist to come in, a cell physiologist to come in, because the person they had was retiring. And so I applied and I got the job.
Barbara served as chair of the Department of Animal Physiology from 1991 to 1993. And then she became a chair of the section of NPB This is when the Division of Biological Science, now the College of Biological Science, was established in 1993. Barbara served as Vice Provost for Academic Personnel, and also when Barry Klein left that position to serve in the Office of Research, he became the Vice Provost of Academic Personnel. When then Provost Virginia Hinshaw left for the University of Hawaii, Barbara was appointed as interim provost and executive chancellor at UC Davis. Later in 2009, she returned to the vice provost's office. That office was later renamed Academic Affairs. Barbara is the personification of loyalty.
I have a deep loyalty to the campus, which is somewhat sometimes disengaging, because if I get asked to do something and sometimes I say yes. It's too easy to, it's too hard to say no sometimes.
No matter how busy she was in the higher administration, she always had time to support the faculty. Here's an example, and I'm sure that many of you have similar examples. Barbara sent me this note on September 9, 2009. I saw the recent notes about your election to fellow status in the ESA. Time to celebrate. No, I do not keep all my emails, but this one I remember so vividly that I pick up an old computer and I was able to retrieve it. And this came actually from a Black Bear. So for the students that are here, this was the old generation before a thing called iPhone exists. That was a Black Bear. Another example from Barbara is this one here in 2008. She sent me this note. Congratulations on your most recent honor. Well deserved, but you all must be getting filled with plaques and certificates. How nice to hear someone from the higher administration acknowledge the accomplishment of the more junior faculty. It took me a long time to find out why Barbara was so nice to the faculty in general, but recently I found an explanation for that act of kindness.
When I was hired, Milt Smith gave me the following advice. First of all, he said, be nice to the people, because as you go up the ladder, because you're going to meet them coming down. Right. So that was the first piece of good information. I mean, a very good piece of first information.
Barbara has a good sense of humor. Sometimes it looks like
I would like to
stress
ask you a few
relieving.
questions.
Sure. How much do I get for this?
Here is Barbara Horwitz and the 2008 graduate studies ceremony.
When I thought about what I would say today, I reflected on my own graduate school experiences and the personal sense of completion that I had when that dissertation or thesis was finally signed. Of course, mixed with this satisfaction was a combination of apprehension and excitement, as many of you are likely experiencing these days, as you close one chapter in your life and are about to begin another. As I anticipated moving on to a postdoctoral position, I did not fully recognize the intrinsic value of my graduate education, or how the skills, the guiding principles, and the commitment to learning that were seeded during those years would grow and influence my subsequent decisions. Some 25 years later, when I was the faculty speaker at a graduate commencement such as this in this very hall, my remarks were focused on the value to society of public education, research universities, and in particular the University of California, arguably the best public university in the world. You can applaud for that.
We had many colleagues here in the stage at that day. I see Andrea was there. I see Bill Lace was there as well. And Bill Lace was also in the higher administration, the so-called the Dean's Council at that time with Barbara. Bill, would you come forward and say a few words, or maybe an anecdote about Barbara? Please come forward. Bill Lace.
Well, thank you, Walter. I wasn't sure what Walter wanted me to say or do in this position, and I combined this with kind of a roast as well as a congratulation to Barbara. She and I started this position as a member of the administration in 1999 and served as a vice provost from 99 to 2014. And I had the distinct privilege of working with Barbara for 11 of those years in the chancellor and the provost cabinet. So we got to know each other very well, and I had the highest respect for her. She was really, not only was she a distinguished and outstanding scholar and highly productive scholar and an incredible mentor for graduate students over those years, but she was a very successful administrator as well. And those are very different and distinct roles, and she played them all very well, right up to 51 years of service to one university. I have to smile when I say that because I couldn't keep a job. I worked for 8 different universities, and she was able to build a career here. Well, that made her such a strong administrator. She understood this institution. She lived it daily. She lived it through all the different roles in this institution. And so she was really a remarkable administrator. She brought not only that wealth of experience and knowledge, but she was also a no-nonsense negotiator and navigator in this setting. She had strong opinions. She voiced them very vigorously at times while we were on the cabinet. Some colleagues actually felt she was a bit of a curmudgeon at times. And not only that, but some regarded her as Dr. No, as a kind of a subtle title. But I have to tell you that she was challenging people to think through carefully what they were proposing. She was requiring that they justify what they were proposing and what the consequences of those proposals were. I always looked to her for her opinions and her perspectives, and I respected her insights. Her service and her thoughtful leadership has made UC Davis a better university and a better community. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Bill. Barbara opened many floodgates. She became the president. She served as president of the Society for Experimental Biology and Medicine. She was elected the second woman to serve as president of the American Physiological Society, APS. That's another APS. There was a long hiatus after the first woman became president and Barbara got that position. She broke the cycle after too many cycles as president there. And after that, many women, 4 of them, to be accurate, the last 4 presidents were women, and including the current president, Dee Silverthorne.
Hello, this is Dee Silverthorne, University of Texas at Austin. I'm the 95th president of the American Physiological Society. On behalf of everyone at the APS, I'm pleased to be part of this celebration of Barbara's illustrious career. The APS was founded in 1887, but it was not until 1975 that they elected their first woman president. It would be another 25 years before Barbara would be elected as only the second woman in over 100 years. I had the privilege of being on the nominating committee that put Barbara's name on the ballot. Barbara's election broke the dam, and some 20 years later, I am now the 11th woman president. Barbara has always been a kind and generous role model and mentor for other women in physiology and in the APS, and indeed for all physiologists. And I know I speak for all of them when we wish her congratulations and delight at this celebration of her career today.
Barbara sometimes may impress people different ways.
We first met in...
We met in Atlantic City at the Federation meeting.
The old Federation meetings, right,
yeah,
right.
You ordered the scrambled eggs.
Right, you remember that?
Yes, and you didn't like them, and you returned them. And I was very impressed because in France you wouldn't do this. They would kick you out.
Just crude Americans do this, right?
So, but that is my first.
Not a great impression.
In 1982, Barbara received the Academic Senate Distinguished Teaching Award. The local press reported it differently, The Davis Enterprise headline reads, "What makes a good prof? Work, genes." The Daily Democrat, on the other hand, had a different view. Genes may help, but interest, organization makes top teacher. As you well know, committees recommend the awardee to the Representative Assembly of the Academic Senate, and the Representative Assembly votes on those. Here's a quote from the recommendation of the chair of the teaching committee at that time, Professor Hildebrand. Her undergraduate courses are high enrollment, popular course because they are difficult, stimulating, and current, not because they are easy. It did not escape my attention that the same Representative Assembly, the then President Chancellor of the University, James Mayer, make the State of the Campus address. And in that address, he says, the university budget is facing a 22 million cutback in state funding. Just adjust for inflation and change the name of the Chancellor, and this statement is still up to date. Chancellor Mayer suggests closing the campus at the end of the year between Christmas and New Year days. Barbara was also the first woman to receive the UC Davis Prize for Teaching and Scholarly Achievements back in 1991. The local papers, the Sacramento Bee, reported it. So did the scientists. And the scientists, they noted the dollar value of the award, which for Barbara is possibly the least important part of the recognition. In 1995, Barbara received the University of California Presidential Award for Excellence in Fostering Undergraduate Research. In 2015, she received the Lifetime Mentor Award from the American Association for the Advancement of Science, AAAS. When Barbara was a teenager, then Provost Stanley Freeborn, professor of entomology, I must add, expressing his view about teaching in a commencement address.
The joy of teaching is almost wholly vicarious. Our accomplishments are measured in the success that you, our products, are able to attain in your family, your community, your nation, and the whole world.
No wonder Freeborn taught it during his entire career at UC Davis, including at the time that he was served as the first chancellor here at UC Davis. One might say that Barbara is the embodiment of Freeborn's teaching philosophy. Based on a small sample, and I emphasize that a very small sample that I acquired from the educational and the enrichment and outreach program, 25 students that participate in these programs, sponsored and mentored by Barbara, as many of 13 of them became medical doctors and PhD and many other professional careers. The BASF program is another one that they celebrated recently the 3rd anniversary. Actually, this program was started by Professor Emerita Merna Villarejo, and when she retired, Barbara took over that program and enhanced the program with various NIH training grants. The list of mentors and grants is very long. They are under the umbrella of maximizing student diversity and development. They are such as MARC, the Advancing the Diversity in Aging Research, the so-called the ADAR Scholar Program. Barbara has mentored more than 350 undergraduate students and 88 graduate students in her own laboratory. I'm not talking about here students that have been mentored by these grants in another laboratory under the grant that she served as a PI. Professor Emerita Martha O'Donnell just transitioned to the emerita status this time. She was the first undergraduate student in in Barbara's laboratory. And Martha is with us today, and I'll invite her to come forward and say a few words here.
Thank you. This is a wonderful opportunity. I have known Barbara for so many years. As an undergraduate student and then my experience with her in the lab was so wonderful that I stayed on with her for a PhD. Went on to University of Chicago, did postdoctoral training, and ended up coming back here to Davis. So I have known her for a very, very long time. She feels like family. She really is family. So I was an undergraduate student, and I was in my second year. I come from a farming family. My parents were not able to have the opportunity to go to college. I found myself in a situation where I had to work to support my staying in college. And I needed a job, and they were kind of hard to get back then. But there was an ad for a lab assistant. I knew from a high school experience that I dearly loved life science and biology. And I saw this ad, and it was for cleaning rat cages and washing glassware. I started it, and the rest is just history. Barbara was fantastic. And it didn't take very long for her to say, come on over here to this lab bench. I think you can actually start pipetting. She really taught me the value of not only critical thinking, but being really precise in what you do and being really careful in what you do. Excuse me, especially when you're pipetting. And I will never forget the day. It was noontime. I'm pipetting away at the counter. My roommate stopped in and said, hey, do you want to catch some lunch? And I started talking, and Barbara came over. As soon as my friend left, Barbara said, do not ever do that again. She just said, you've got to concentrate with what you're doing. So the thing about Barbara was I was very inexperienced when I started. She gave me opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. She trusted me. She let me grow. There was a lot of tough love, a lot of humor. And so I stayed on for graduate school with her. One thing led to another, and she really was family. I met my husband, Joe, who's sitting over there when we were both, I think I lost my mic.
We lost microphone here. Again.
I can be loud.
Yeah,
I can be loud.
Loud, yes.
I met my husband, Joe O'Donnell. We were both graduate students, and we got engaged within a year. And I remember going into her office and saying, Barbara, I'm engaged. And she put her face in her hands. But to top that off, 2 years later, I came in and I said, Barbara, I'm going to have a baby. She was supportive through it all. She was absolutely supportive through it all. And I realized, looking back, I have taken so much of what she taught me. I was a TA for her cell physiology class as a graduate student. I learned in watching her the value of being a really good educator that not caters to the students, but really pays attention to where the students are coming from and what they need. She was just so good. And when it came time for me to write my dissertation, I was terrified because every time Barbara wrote a paper, she would go in her office and she would write it one paragraph at a time. Who does that? I learned to do an outline and go back and put it through. So when I went on for my postdoc at University of Chicago, it was a little bit of a shock because I was so used to having this sort of older sister that was mentoring me through everything. But she's really stuck with me. And as I gradually over time started my own laboratory and my own students, I found myself telling them the same things that she'd taught me and trying to use some tough love. Probably not as good at it as she has been, but she's just a wonderful person and I love her to pieces. Thanks.
Barbara also did many good things for this campus. She paved the way for the advanced program. In this email of 2009, she was looking for faculty support to apply for an NSF grant, which funded the program from 2012 to 2019. Sophie Barbu is here. She was assistant director of that program, and now she's assistant director of the campus initiative. Many junior faculty from diverse backgrounds have been hired recently, thanks to this program, and Barbara Horwitz, who planted the seed for this abundant harvest. For that, and many other contributions, Barbara received the 2014 Chancellor's Award for Diversity and Community. Chancellor Emerita Linda Catherine, who could not join us today, said, I have much respect for Barbara. So do we. As Bruce Hammock put it, Barbara is the epitome of a faculty who both benefit from the system and gave it back to the system. She gave back not only in the currents of instruction, research, administration, and other service. Barbara is a philanthropist par excellence. Barbara and John's action give the impression that they follow the Torah's teaching, that's to say, the commandment of giving, righteousness, and social justice. At the times, it appears that they act according to the teaching of the Bible of not letting the left hand know what the right hand is doing. This is the case with the endowed chair in physiology. This started in 2004, and for almost a decade, none of us knew who was the donor for this endowed chair. And thanks to this endowed chair, UC Davis was able to attract to our campus John Wingfield. And John is with us today. I believe, yeah, John's just over here. John, would you come forward and tell how this position helped you to be attracted to UC Davis? Thank you, John.
Thank you, Walter. It's too bad we couldn't see Barbara here today, but hopefully sometime in the near future. It was a great honor for me to move to UC Davis in 2007 and be appointed to this endowed chair in physiology. As Walter said, at the time when it was first established in 2004, it was anonymous, although we did have our suspicions. And then after she retired, it officially became the Barbara A. Horwitz and John M. Horwitz Endowed Chair in Physiology. And we all know and we've heard how much Barbara has contributed. Oops.
Let me change this spot again.
She's contributed so much at so many different levels in education, in research, and in service. And now this endowment will be a continuing legacy that will enable current and future faculty. The current holder of the chair is Marty Usry. I don't know if Marty is here.
Good now.
Okay. Yeah. And it will be a continuing legacy that will enable current and future faculty to reach new horizons and further the mission of UC Davis. Essentially, what do I mean by the fact of the continuing legacy? The endowment funds allow pursuit of research and education ideas that are not tied to specific goals of a grant. I think all of us are aware of that. If you get one of the big granting agency grants, you have to do that research and you can't use it for other things. And yet, as we all probably know, we have graduate students and undergraduates in the lab which come up with these incredibly creative ideas, and we're always looking for some funding to help them develop that. And this is exactly what this endowment allowed me to do, and I'm sure other people as well. This includes a lot of those risky ideas but have a very great payoff should they work. And even if they don't, the students at first were disappointed, but also it pointed the way to the future of how we should have done the experiment. And they got a kick out of that. And the endowment also allows a lot of the sort of, if you like, the infrastructure of the lab to continue, because they're always at the most critical time. A piece of equipment breaks down, needs to be repaired, but it's not part of your NSF grant. So where do you get the funds for that? Or buy a new piece of equipment. The students will also need supplies and travel to meetings, national meetings, and even travel to field sites. So this was all ways of enabling the students to reach their goals. And so the idea is to nurture students' ideas and fuel their careers, so to speak, that they become more convinced that, yes, the a career in life sciences, in education, in state funding agencies and so forth, and teaching in high schools even is what they would really like to do. So the endowment really has multiple offerings to make to develop students and using their own ideas, that is, nurturing their own ideas. And it's also for me and also other people in the lab to actually see these students blossom and move on, and they come back a few years down the line and told us all about what they're doing now, and it's pretty impressive. So the Endowment of Physiology will continue to fund these opportunities for faculty by aspiring students. And thank you, Barbara and John, for your vision and the generosity in establishing this endowment, which legacy will continue for future discoveries and career development. Thank you.
Thank you, John. The Barbara Horwitz and John Horwitz endowed chair in physiology is just one example of their generosity and willingness to share the wealth. They support undergraduate research at UC Davis and nationwide through the APS. Quite often, I witness the excitement of undergraduate students on social media, Twitter in particular, when they receive the honor through APS. When I was hired by UC Davis, the vice provost of academic personnel at that time was Barry Klein. I still remember one of Barry's recommendations: do not be afraid to ask, what did you mean by that? When Barbara replaced Barry, she went further and created a handbook for chairs and directors to help them explain what the system means by that. Barbara's main focus was on the success of the junior faculty. She worked hard to ensure they knew how to be rewarded by our complex system of merits and promotions. Knowing that the graduate school do not teach us how to become academic leaders, Barbara created a leadership training program. Many of the current and the past administrators benefit from that program. Back then, the paperwork for merit and promotions was enormous. It was a thick file. So by implementing InfoVault, she saved millions of trees. She left the vice provost's office temporarily to serve as interim provost and executive vice chancellor. Here, she made it clear, my goal is to facilitate the development of the people, plans, and the potential of UC Davis. It seems that she read the memo for Chancellor Meyer to close down the campus between Christmas and the New Year's Day. In this letter that she issued in December 19, 2008, she went into a very detailed plan on how to save energy throughout the campus. She left no stones unturned, or better say, no unnecessary lights on. She even went far as to define, in a certain part of the letter, she defined what an unoccupied bathroom means, restroom. So this is a call now. There is a call now for us to set the deep freezers to -7 instead of -8 to save energy. Barbara had a more in-depth plan of save energy almost a decade ago. She was always willing to serve, but in 2011, she decided it was time to turn off the plug. Barbara decided to get back to the faculty. In a quote in the Dateline, then Provost Hexter said, "It will be impossible to exaggerate my appreciation for Barbara's many years of service, and in particular her patience in explaining the fine points of the academic personnel at UC Davis to a provost new to his office." Former provost and the former interim chancellor and distinct Professor Ralph Hexter is with us today, And I must ask Alf to come forward and say a few words about those days with Barbara. Alf.
Thank you very much. Well, as I've heard all that the people who are here have had to say, and the people on the video, and in Walter's impeccably curated presentation, I truly began to understand what the meaning of superfluous is. What do you say after all of that? But I will say that when I arrived at UC Davis in 2011, Barbara Horwitz was, thank goodness, the vice provost for academic personnel. Yes, we did change it to academic affairs, and I learned so much from Barbara. But more than the specifics, which were extraordinarily valuable, I appreciated the way she conveyed the values of this institution, the demand for the highest quality, and at the same time, the extraordinarily generous way she wanted to support and advance. Everyone was hard at work and seeking to move forward in the right way. So I really have to say that I came to appreciate what Barbara represented about the values of UC Davis, and this combination of extraordinary ambition and exactitude balanced with empathy, with support for the individual. When I think of so many things that she did, not only the philanthropy that she and John have exercised for an endowed chair, for graduate and undergraduate fellowships, but her devotion to the students, particularly in the bus program, I think that she is a model that we would all be hard-pressed to follow. So it was an honor. I'm sorry that she's not here with us today, but I trust she'll watch the video. I think she'd probably have been terribly embarrassed to hear this in person. And so thank you for this opportunity to honor Barbara, and I look forward to seeing her around and getting a little bit of that humor. So all tribute to Barbara.
Thank you, Ralph. We all appreciate all that Barbara did to make UC Davis a better campus, but there is only one person who can speak on behalf of the entire UC Davis community, Chancellor Gary May.
Hello, Barbara. I'm happy to share a message with you for today's tribute. You truly deserve acknowledgement and praise for your many contributions to UC Davis as a professor, a leader in academic affairs, and interim provost. Some might call you an overachiever. You were the first woman to receive the UC Davis Prize for Teaching and Scholarly Achievement in 1991. You were the second woman to serve as president of the American Physiological Society. I understand you trained more than 300 undergraduates in your lab and were recognized with a Lifetime Mentor Award from the American Association for the Advancement of Science for your enormous efforts to train underrepresented students. Your impact has been felt deeply across campus by students, faculty, and staff. You dedicated your career to making us better, and we are so much better for it. Today, we honor you. I offer my heartfelt thanks, and on behalf of the entire UC Davis community, we're incredibly grateful for your many years of dedicated service. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. In closing, I would like to invite the two students to come forward, Ross Charbonneau and Emma Lou. Dear Barbara, on behalf of thousands of students who were inspired by you in the classroom, on behalf of those who benefit from the opportunities we create with your training grants, and on behalf of all students who have the privilege of being mentored by you, Ross and Emma prepare a special gift for you today. They created the Barbara Horwitz Wikipedia page. That was something unique that she didn't have. That's unbelievable. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Emma. Thank you very much. Thank you all. You know that Barbara does not like the spotlight, so I had to do this in secrecy. I could not share with her. Only the people who spoke today knew that there will be a tribute to Barbara Horwitz. Because if I have told her, she would yell at me and will not let me do that. Now it's done. and there is no way back. It's going to be on YouTube. Thank you. We're going to have a very brief break before we have the highlight of the day, the lecture by distinguished Professor Emerita Sharon Strauss. Thank you.